Did you ever look at a map and wonder why the world holds its breath every time news breaks out of Iran, Israel, or the US? Because this tension isn't new. It's been simmering for decades, not days. I'm glad you're joining us for this episode.
I get chills thinking about how a single misstep could tip this delicate balance. Today, we're diving into the real roots of the Iran-US-Israel standoff. I'll help unravel the big questions. Why talks keep failing? What makes Israel's strategy unique? And how close we are to the edge.
We'll walk you through the historical backdrop, decode the nuclear issue, spotlight Israel's security doctrine, and map out what's really at stake if things go south. Ready to pull back the curtain on one of the world's most dangerous rivalries?
Absolutely. By the end, you'll see not just why this triangle is so explosive, but how every failed negotiation and every act of brinkmanship can reshape the region and the world. Let's start at the very beginning. 1979.
To really understand today's headlines, you have to go back to 1979. That's when Iran's revolution toppled the US-backed Shah, and suddenly, the country's entire identity changed.
That pivot was massive. The new leaders, deeply anti-Western, saw the US not just as an adversary, but as a symbol of everything they opposed. That led straight to the hostage crisis. For 444 days, American diplomats were held in Tehran. That's a scar in American memory that never really healed.
Exactly. That one crisis rewired the relationship, turning suspicion into outright hostility. The US started seeing Iran as a destabilizer, and Iran saw the US as a meddler, an imperialist power.
And then the cycle began. Sanctions, proxy wars, military threats. It became more than politics. It was ideology versus ideology, layered with strategic rivalry that just kept escalating.
Funny enough, even today, you can hear echoes of that original confrontation in almost every diplomatic spat or military move. The past really is prologue here.
Let's talk about the issue that keeps everyone up at night, Iran's nuclear program. It's the core reason so many negotiations crash and burn.
The US and its partners fear a nuclear-armed Iran could upend the entire Middle East. Iran, on the other hand, insists its program is for energy, but trust has evaporated, especially since the 2015 nuclear deal started to unravel.
Right. I remember when the US pulled out of the agreement in 2018, sanctions came back hard, and Iran began walking back its commitments. Since then, negotiations have been like trying to build a bridge over quicksand.
And every new round of talks seems doomed by mistrust, changing political winds, or impossible demands. Both sides want security, but their definitions of security are worlds apart.
Shifting gears, Israel's approach is entirely different. For them, Iran isn't just a rival, it's a direct existential threat. That mindset shapes everything Israel does.
That's why Israel doesn't wait around. They see Iran's rhetoric, missile program, and support for groups like Hezbollah as red lines. So their doctrine is act before it's too late.
We've seen that mindset play out in those high-profile covert operations and cyber attacks. The Stuxnet virus, for example, was a bold attempt to sabotage Iran's nuclear progress without direct confrontation.
And Israel's strategy has always been to keep Iran from ever becoming militarily dominant. It's a preemptive, sometimes risky approach. But for them, it's about survival, not just diplomacy.
Which brings us to the million-dollar question. If everyone's talking, why does diplomacy keep collapsing? It's not just stubbornness, it's fundamentally mismatched goals.
Think about it. Washington wants nuclear restrictions and less Iranian influence. Tehran wants economic relief and respect as a regional heavyweight. Israel wants to keep Iran's military reach at zero. Those goals don't overlap, they collide.
Exactly. So what you get isn't progress. It's a cycle. Some limited deal, then a breakdown, tensions flaring, and then back to the table to try again. There's rarely a win-win in this triangle.
It's a negotiation treadmill. And every cycle makes the next round even harder because trust has eroded that much more.
Let's not sugarcoat it. The dangers aren't hypothetical. Each time talks break down, a new risk emerges. Let's break down what's most likely to go sideways.
First, regional escalation. Iran's support for groups in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. If conflict heats up, you could see multiple flashpoints ignite at once.
And then there's the Strait of Hormuz. Disruptions there don't just hurt the region, they spike global oil prices and can rattle economies worldwide.
Plus, the nightmare scenario. Direct US-Iran clashes. There have already been near-misses drone shootdowns, targeted killings. One error could set off a major war.
Let's not forget the possibility of Israel and Iran trading blows directly. With Israel's preemptive tendencies, that could spiral fast. And any of these scenarios could pull in outside powers like Russia or China, turning a regional crisis global.
Switching perspective for a moment, India's role here is fascinating. It manages strong ties with both the US and Israel, but also keeps a working relationship with Iran.
For India, it's about pragmatism. Their priorities are energy security, stability in West Asia, and safe sea routes. Any major conflict would hit India's economy and its strategic interests hard.
It's a balancing act. India can't afford to pick sides recklessly. Its approach is cautious, calculated, and always watching for shifts in the regional status quo.
Let's wrap up with the essentials. First, this is a decades-old rivalry, not a sudden crisis. Second, the trouble isn't just politics, it's deeply ideological and strategic. Third, the biggest risk isn't open war, but a miscalculation that spirals out of control.
If there's one action for listeners, it's this: stay informed, but look beyond headlines. The context, the history, and the motives matter more than any single news alert.
And remember, in this part of the world, peace is fragile, and the cost of misunderstanding is enormous. Thanks for joining us as we unraveled one of the world's tensest rivalries.
Subscribe for more deep dives into global hotspots, and until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep an eye on those maps.